This is Abstract for Content Writers. My name is Andrea Burton. I'm a design advocate. Let me give you a little background. I like to call myself an armchair content strategist. I'm a designer by trade, but I am really passionate about content strategy. A little bit about me. I am from North Carolina. I'm a Southern transplant. I am also a designer. I live in Minneapolis. I lived in Portland, Oregon, and spent a ton of time in San Francisco for about 10 years. I love all dogs. I'm learning to be a woodworker. This is a picture frame I made down here. This is my wife and my daughter, and I love all dogs. So I previously worked at Target in design ops. I was also a designer. And if you want to contact me, here's my Twitter, @Andrea Burton. Yeah, so I've been a designer. Have been a designer for 15 years. I've worked in Sketch ever since it first came out. And then I worked in design ops at Target. I'm really passionate about workflow, and I'm also passionate about content strategy. A little bit of my background is that I started out as a UX designer. Hold on one second, turning off my do not disturb. I started out as a UX designer working in content management systems, and because of that, content strategy was just a nascent career pathway, and so I think I did a lot of content strategy as a UX designer. So I love thinking about how content can be designed. So let's jump in here. All right, so now I'm a design advocate for Abstract. What is Abstract? So Abstract is a design workflow management system. We provide modern design teams, and really modern product teams, and product including product design, everything in the product model, engineering, content strategy or content, accessibility, and research. And so Abstract, we provide these modern teams with one place to first manage your design files. So you're going to put all of your design files into Abstract. So instead of using some kind of cloud storage, you'll put it into Abstract. From there, you open those files you open the files in Abstract. It opens into Sketch right now. We're able to version those files. So we're using Git technology that engineers use to version their code. We're using that to version design files. And because we're able to version those design files, we have built a suite of collaboration tools on top of design files. So what are some benefits of Abstract? So Abstract allows you to centralize your design thinking. It creates a system of record of your design files, and it allows you to contribute to a system of record for the design and copy decisions. That centralized system of record, we call that master, and that is a concept that we borrowed from, or that we use from Git. We also allow you to work in parallel or brainstorm in parallel. So Abstract allows, if I'm working on a sketch file and then Ayla, who's one of our other design advocates, is working on a sketch file, we can work on the same file at the same time, and Abstract allows you to merge those changes together. All right, so benefits, we centralize design thinking. So in every project in Abstract, you're going to have what we call a master. And the master is a system of record and also a starting place from these designs with your design files. We also allow you to brainstorm in parallel. So we use what we call branches to make a copy of master, because you can't directly edit your master. So you make a copy of the branches, or you make a copy of the design files. You're in your branch, and then you can work on the same files together. And then we have a suite of collaboration tools that we use: comments, annotations, review requests, collections, that we allow you to be able to close the feedback loop and involve and engage stakeholders to move projects forward. Available platforms. We have a Mac app and we have a web app. So the Mac app is going to be for anyone who's actually editing sketch files. And we call those people contributors. In the Mac app, you can create branches, edit files, make commits, and merge your branches and more. With the web app, so I usually recommend stakeholders, product managers, developers, anyone who needs to leave feedback through Abstract to use the web app. Another thing I see contributors using both the Mac app and the web app, because you have to sync all of the files down to the Mac app locally. And with the web app, you can just view your projects and view into the slides. All right, here's the test. A Git-based workflow. Does everyone see that? Okay, woohoo! All right, Git-based workflow. So, like I said, we borrowed or we're using a Git-based workflow. Git is version control that engineers use to version control their code. So there's a few terms from Git that we use. I've already said master. So master is that source of truth. So it's going to be all of the files that maybe make up a product. So if you're working on a web page, it would be your home.sketch, your about.sketch, your search.sketch, if that's how you have your files organized. Now, if I'm a designer and I want to work on those files, I can't directly edit the master. What I have to do is I make what we call a branch. So a branch is a duplicate copy of all of the files in master, and then we put it in a safe space that the designer or a content writer or UX writer can edit. And I'll get to that in a second. So once you're in your branch, you're editing these sketch files and soon to be XD files. So you're editing these design files, and we have a plugin that sits on top of Sketch right now. And so you'll save locally, but then you'll make what we call commits. And commits are like super saves. And a commit will save a snapshot in time of the files you've worked on, and it sends that to the cloud. And so then you're going to create lots of different commits. And so that creates a timeline of your changes in your own personal branch of any changes that you've made. So we see commits as explorations, and I'll get into that in a second. And then once you're finished with your changes, you take that to review with your other stakeholders. Everybody gives you thumbs up, you're a genius. And then what you can do is you can merge that back in to the master. So that's how you edit the master. All right. So Abstract is also a place where you bring all of your communication together. So on this right side, so this is what Abstract looks like. And I took a screenshot for this webinar of our designers and our content strategist, Coley, who helped me a ton with this webinar, so shout out. This is like an actual conversation that they are having. And so Payam, one of our designers, is mentioning Coley saying, hey, I could use your help here, and is describing that comment feed or describing what they need in this comment feed. And so this is an activity viewed in Abstract. And you get to that by clicking on activity. Well, I also took a screenshot of this comment feed here that sits next to the design. So I just really wanted to show you like how commenting and communication can work in Abstract. So it allows you to stay connected throughout the design process and pull content strategists, UX writers in during the design process. All right, content is design. Now I know I might be preaching to the choir, but I feel very passionate about content writing, content strategy being part of the UX design process. So content is design. You know, as our work becomes increasingly cross-functional, I really believe that we can use tools like Abstract and the features in Abstract to bring design and content together. I wrote an article, and I don't mean this to be shameless promotion. I really, and I'm going to post this in the chat, I wrote an article about how I really believe content teams and design teams can work together. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I feel really passionate about this. So, okay, on to the next slide. Let's talk a little bit about how abstract works and how a content strategist or a UX writer might jump into abstract and work together with your designer. So the first thing you need to do is join an organization. So in abstract, you have the abstract instance. The designers are going to pull their sketch files into abstract and edit from there. But the very top level of an abstract instance we call an organization. So in this screenshot here, you see this drop-down menu. Abstract is the organization. And in this instance, this is Alden, one of our design advocates. He belongs to all of these different organizations. So he can use his same login to join the different organizations and use this jump menu to be able to go into the different organizations. So how do you get into an organization? An administrator for your company is going to invite you via a link or an email. And once you receive your invitation, you just follow the prompts, and then you're able to join your organization. All right, so we have a few different roles. We have a contributor seat, and then we have a viewer seat. And so the contributor seat is a paid seat, and this seat is going to enable, this enables you to edit files. So I really want to empower content strategists to jump into design, UI design tools and actually edit your content from there. So I really want to empower you guys to try being a contributor and editing your files from Sketch. So I see some content writers, you might just create all your content in a document or a spreadsheet and just pass that to a designer, or maybe you would just leave the content in the comments. But I really want to empower you to learn these design tools. One, it's always great to know how to use different kinds of tools, but also you are a designer. You need to be able to put your words in the context and see how it affects the design, and then work with your designer to then modify based on what the content is. So we also have a viewer seat, and a viewer seat, these are free and unlimited, but you can't edit the sketch files. So I see some content writers working as viewers, and with a viewer seat, what you're gonna do is either put links to your content, you can leave comments and annotations, you can review and approve branches, you can do everything you can do as a contributor, you just can't directly edit the sketch file. So there really is this difference. I see content writers working in two different capacities. One, being able to edit the sketch file, or one, just leaving the comments, leaving any of your content in the comments. Cool. So then, okay. So once you're an abstract, you've joined an organization, you're either a contributor or a viewer, then you're going to be added to projects. So projects are the grouping of files, basically based on products or features or your platforms. So we use projects to manage these files. If you see, STEM Society is a demo app we have internally here at Abstract. It sells plants online. And you see here, like, we have a branding project. We have an Android app project. Usually design systems are in projects. And, this website is in a project. So we separate projects out either by platform. So maybe you have a Mac app, an iOS app, or an Android app. That would be all the sketch files that make up a Mac app, or all the sketch files that make up an iOS app, etc. Or I see teams, larger teams working on bigger features or products. So let's say, these three projects were for a camera or a photo app. You would have all of the sketch files that make up the edit experience, and all of the sketch files that make up the gallery experience, and all of the sketch files that make up the capture experience. Yep. I was just checking on the chat. So some projects, so some abstract instances, if you're on an enterprise org, we have sections. So it would go organization, section, and then projects. Right now, I'm just talking about projects, but you can, if you're on an enterprise account, you can organize those in sections. All right, so now that we understand abstract and how it's structured, let's talk about your toolkit. All right, comments and annotations. So these pink squares in this screenshot is an annotation. We have a tool where you can draw a square here, and then you can add a comment based on that, area that you drew around. So in this instance, Dana, she drew a square around collaboration for everyone. She says, this feels a little busy. And then, you could mention a content strategist, pull them in, and they could type in what they wanted the copy change to be. So annotations draw attention to specific copy. You can also add markdown, emoji reactions, and mentions in here. And then one tip is you can use the grave accents to highlight specific terms. So if you do the accent and then a word and then an accent, it kind of does like, a different formatting like code, kind of like how it does in Slack. So yeah, comments and annotations. Next, let's talk about branches. So let's look at this screenshot here. So I'm in the website project for STEM Society. I have one branch, and this we call, this original branch at the top level. So this would be where I, as a designer, would be updating homepage and adding product pages. So I'm, really defining the UI of this design. So what I see content strategists and content writers who are contributors and edit sketch files, what I see them doing is creating what we call a child branch. And so I can create a branch as a copywriter off of the branch my designer is working on. And I use this pencil emoji to say like, hey, this is a content writing branch, and this is where I'm adding in the copy. So a child branch gives me exact copy of the sketch files in the state that my designer is working on them. And any change my designer does, I can pull those changes into my branch. And then once I've added any copy, I can talk to my designer, have them review the copy, and then they can merge that back into their UI changes. So this is a way that content strategists, content designers can work together with UI designers so that you get a complete whole design experience, copy and user interface. Commits. So like I talked about commits a little bit earlier, but let me just reiterate, they're like a super save. And you create basically a timeline of saves. And so let's say I wanted to do a few different explorations. I could say, welcome to STEM Society here in one commit, and then I could do another headline and another commit. And so then I could show all of those commits to my design team or to my other copywriters or content strategists and see what they like. So commits are places for exploration. Also in a commit, we allow you to give a commit message here. So, in this commit message, you want to be really clear. One mistake I see new contributors make in abstract is just to say like, Andrea's copy updates for today, which really doesn't tell my team at all what I'm working on. But in here, I can say like, adds in first iteration of navigation, because I added in these navigation labels, paragraph and button copy. So you know exactly what I'm working on here. One thing with commits, keep it simple, commit the top 2 or 3 drafts, gather feedback, and then refine. All right, so review requests. Review requests are a tool. If you scroll in here, or if I zoom in here, do you see this open for feedback? So this is a drop-down menu that allows you to choose the status of your branch. So there's a link on there that says request review. When you click on that link, you get this modal window that says request review. And in here, I am requesting a review from Coley. She's our content strategist. I'm also requesting a review from Ayla. She's another design advocate. And, you know, when I request this review, they're going to get an email. They're going to get a notification within Abstract. They're also going to get a badge we have a request review section within Abstract. They'll get a badge for that. So review requests, they add transparency, they add accountability to your design and copy decisions. It allows you to say like, hey, I've made these changes. Can you check out my changes and give me any feedback? With a review request, we allow you to either thumbs up, approve the request, or you can request changes. And we allow you to put in the changes that you requested. All right, but what's the best way to set your branch up for a review request? So this is where I encourage you to create what we call a collection. So a collection is similar to a prototype. In Abstract, you can create a collection, and then you can add specific screenshots of the screenshots that you've changed. So you're curating any of your changes into a collection. Here, I put a title, product pages, and I can put some context here in a collection summary or description. So I can say, here's what I've updated. Here's my open questions. What's up next? And I can say that these collections can sync with my latest designs and provide access to layered details. Great. So an awesome thing about collections is you can present right from here. If I click present, one secret is I'm presenting right now from a collection. So if I close this out, I've created all of my slides in a collection to present from. So, Abstract, we use collections as well. So you can present from here. I could add more artboards here. And then I can also create a share link. So sharing settings, I'm actually going to save this. I'm going to copy this link to a collection, and I'm going to share this. I'm going to share these slides with you guys so you can use at another time. So let's go back to where I was. Just wanted to show you the power of collections. All right. So one other thing is I can pop into the comments here on a collection. This is where you have the annotation tool. I can @mention. I'll @mention Coley. This is where I can write in there. And then we also have an inspect tool. I won't jump into that too much here. That's more for developers to inspect artboards. But just want you to know these are all the things you can do in collections. I love a collection because in my previous life as a designer, I used to have to put all of my artboards into a branded PowerPoint or a branded Keynote, and that just added hours onto my process. From a collection, I can, or from Abstract, I can just create a presentation and I don't have to work in another product. All right, so tips and tricks. Context in branch summaries. So here we are in this project. This is that STEM Society project. And I just want to focus your attention to this summary section. So right now, this summary section supports Markdown. One of our designers, Sarah Zhang, she has really spearheaded this, and I love her organization. So she started putting in her JIRA tickets. She puts a link to them. She says what the context is. She says what the problem that she's trying to solve. She puts any assumptions. She puts in engineering insights. She also puts in research insights. This is where I also see that you could put in, content strategy insights and a proposed solution. And then remember I was talking about collections before. Here's where collections show in your branch overview page. So that if I'm a content strategy manager, or I'm a design manager, or a product manager, or anybody else working on this team, and I come in here, or let's say this is a designer's branch, and I come in as a content strategist, I have context for what I need to know. I can click on this ticket, I can understand any insights, and then I can jump right into these collections and see what I need to check out. But this is awesome to be able to provide context to anyone that you're working with. All right, share links. So I just showed you how share links work. I made a public share link of these screens so that you guys can use internally or to review afterwards. Share links are a great way to get to share your work with. So like, let's say you've created a collection, you've put all your copy changes, you have maybe like 5 different explorations of copy. You can create a share link, share that in Slack or Teams, share that in documentation, or share that via email. So share links allow you to share your work. We do public sharing, or we just do only people in the project. If it's only people in this project, they're going to have an abstract login. If you share publicly, you can do all versions and inspect, which actually I remembered I need to turn those off for you guys. Let me just show you how that works. Let me change the share. So I just want you guys to get the latest version and the inspect. Boom, I save, and then let me go back. All right, so the Abstract SDK. So Abstract has an SDK, which means Software Development Kit. We have an API in there and our desktop CLI. This really is for engineers to, if they want to pull out data points, you can grab assets out of here. You can grab, comments. You can do. There's just a ton of things you can do with it. We have a blog post about our Abstract SDK. We have customers who, Wix.com, they're creating a UX feed. So they're pulling out all of their artboards to show on a feed for other designers who, because we're all working in silos to really understand the designs that people are working on. Why I'm talking about the SDK with you guys is in this example, I'm just going to scroll in, we have this iframe. So in the SDK, we have, if you put in a share link, you can copy the iframe code. This allows you to embed a collection or embed a specific layer into your documentation. So maybe you use Confluence, maybe you use Jira. You can copy that share link and put it in an iframe and then embed that into your documentation. It allows other stakeholders to see the designs and jump into Abstract really quickly. So check out our SDK. If you're engineer-minded or you're working with an engineer, let us know cool projects that you come up with. We're all about sharing the data and letting you access your own data. All right, so I just want to wrap up. This is a contact us. If you guys have any specific questions about this, you can reach me on the spectrum.chat/abstract. You can also find me on Twitter at Andrea Burton, or find Abstract on Twitter at GoAbstract. If you ever have syncing issues or anything like that, email support@abstract and find us. And we have a ton of content strategy blogs on abstract.com/blog. Now let's give 5 minutes to questions, and I'm going to pop open this question chat, and let's see, where should I start? Where is the comment tool? Okay, Sarah, I will show you that. So let's say I'm popping into this, I have this so comments are on layers or in collections. I'm in a collection right now, so I can hide or show comments. Like I said, here I can @mention Coley, and she's our content strategist, and I can say, like, what do you think of this slide content? I can also, I'm actually going to annotate. I'm going to draw an annotation here, and then I'm going to say, hey, Coley, what do you think of this slide content? And, there we tie this annotation to this content. I can give a reaction that I love my own comment. I can also reply here. So one thing to note that in a collection, oh look, Coley's starting to comment. Oh, thanks, Coley. So one thing is that the comment stream here is going to show the comments from the latest commit. If I pop out of here, I'm going to jump into this specific slide. This is what we call the layer view. And so you can also leave comments here on the layer view. And then comments get tied to specific commits. So right now, this webinar is on, I built this collection on master. I'm getting into a little bit some advanced stuff, but if I pop into, how do I show this? If I pop into this branch, this will show, okay. So this slide I built, or this collection I built on my branch. This was the work that I was doing to get up to, be able to merge to master. You can see that comments will then be tied to commits. So I can show you actually I wanted to show you guys one thing really quickly. Oh man, I'm trying to find my slide here. So I wanted to show, while I get this latest thing, I wanted to actually show you how, actually I'm going to show this one. Okay, I wanted to show you guys how design and content can work together. So this is what this slide looked like at the end before I merged. But when I first started, these are commits, so I'm creating a timeline. This was my very first slide. So Coley, my content strategist, she created this content in a Google Doc. I copied and pasted this into Sketch. And, initially I was like, okay, this might be a little too much content here. And so I started moving things around. I added in this screenshot. I made some edits here. And then Coley and I had a conversation, and I was like, you know what? I think that this is a little too much copy. So Coley created what we call a child branch. I talked about that earlier. Hers was called Copy Revisions. And once I merged that in, Coley was able to write a little bit less content to then focus that on there. So I just want to show Coley had access to Sketch. She's a contributor. She could edit that in there. She was able to make a child branch. She opened this file in Sketch. She wrote the copy together. She wrote the copy, and then I was able to merge her copy changes in there. Okay, Sarah, I hope that answered the comment tool. Laura, you told that collections are like a prototype. When will we be able to actually present prototypes? Maybe somebody answered this. I see Ayla. Okay, like Ayla said, we can't give an exact date at this time, but we are working on supporting Sketch prototyping. How that's going to work is if you have, very windy here in Minneapolis today, if you're using the Sketch prototyping tool, you have the arrows that point will respect the hotspots. Another thing we're thinking about doing is hotspotting in our own tool. And then eventually, once we're about to start supporting XD, we're opening the XD beta soon. We will also work with their prototyping tool. That'll be even further on. Okay, Chris, is there a single sourcing in Abstract so I can reuse text, just edit in a central location and have it update in multiple projects? So right now, like Coley said, you can try that with libraries and symbols. What our grand scheme is, and this is going to take time, but imagine a world where you did have a JSON file or some kind of text file that sat alongside your designs. You were able to write in there and assign those to text fields. That's some things we're thinking about. So, so that could automatically update. This is way down the roadmap. Right now we're doing prototyping, XD, and then, we'll see next year how we support other file types. The one thing about Abstract that I do want to say, I'm just going to go into kind of live demo mode Fingers crossed, everything works. So when I look at the files of a master, right now we have sketch files and we have sketch libraries. Libraries are reusable chunks of user interface. So, you know, this is kind of what we're talking about, where if you wanted to reuse copy, you could potentially use that in a library. And then you see sketch files. So our vision is to be file type agnostic, that you could have sketch files in here, you could have XD files in here, maybe you have a JSON file in here, maybe you have some other prototyping tool file in here. So that's our grand scheme, is to be file type agnostic. Because we want people to use the tools that they want, come into Abstract, and be able to work together. I'm going to go to 11:45, so I'm just going to spend 3 more minutes on some 11:45 my time on some questions. So Raziel says, what would you suggest if we're looking to use Abstract to manage content with various translated versions? Great question, Raziel. This comes up a lot. We're still trying to figure out the best solution. There are some sketch plugins around language that I know people have tried. Some things I see people doing is having, you know, a default sketch file in your default language, and then having pages within there of the other languages. In an ideal world, I feel like, you know, maybe with JSON or other text files, you could specify the languages. Honestly, there's not a great answer, but I do want you to know I've worked in the multilingual web for a long time. I feel very passionate about this, so I will keep you up to date as we figure out some solutions to this. One more question. Oh, there's so many questions. If I don't get to your question, post them on Spectrum, and I will get to them. You can also send me a tweet. So one more question from Oz. If a designer created a collection but not a branch, and I'd like to collaborate with them on copy, do I need to ask them to create a branch in order to create a child branch to make commits off of? Yes, you will. Or you could use the commenting feature to make the comments to put in your text. But if you wanted to edit the sketch file and put in the copy edits, you would need to create a child branch. Cool, okay. I'm going to end that. If I didn't get your question, again, throw them on Spectrum or send them into support or send me a tweet. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Like I said, I really want to make content strategists and UX writers process flow better with UX designers. So please get in touch with me. Any ideas you guys have. Also, if you work on a design system that has content guidelines built into it, I'd love to know about that. I'm trying to learn more about design systems teams I'm trying to really encourage design systems team to have a content guidelines in their design system. So, all right, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hit me up with questions. And if you find that grammar inconsistency, let me know. And otherwise, have a great day. Yeah, take care.